Well, class, welcome to OPM 2000, the online section. For the next 8 weeks, you're going to be diving into how basically to manage operations. This is an introductory course, so we are going into some detail, but we're not going to be going into extreme detail. So that's a good thing. Just a few things I want to go over is, first of all, you're going to be reading this week about Frederick Winslow Taylor. He really was one of the first individuals that got into what's called scientific management as far as a study. Very fascinating stuff. However, I have a love-hate relationship with Taylor's work because he didn't see a problem with employing young children in extremely dangerous jobs, and I have a problem with that. He had some issues about compensating your employees fairly. Basically, he was erring on what we would consider the corporate side of things and that their benefit. How could they benefit? It was also a different time period. Children did go to work at very young ages. Unfortunately, in the textile mills, there were these huge machines with like these claws. They'd be going up and down, and they'd be about maybe 2.5, 3 feet off of the floor. And an adult going under there would definitely get hurt. So they would send children down there. Why? Because they needed to collect all this lint from the textile that was being made, the textiles, because it was a fire hazard. So they sent children in there to clean it, and children got maimed, killed. It was horrible. And so, really, Taylor gave us a good start into understanding how we can scientifically look at management and management practices, but there were definitely a lot of flaws. Well, that's true with any scientific theory that begins. You start with a seminal theory. That its seed. It begins there. And over time, more researchers like myself and others begin looking at it and we say, really, is that the best way? Is that the best way we can apply ethics here? Is there a better way we can go about doing things? And then we begin adding to it. So over the well, 100 years or so since Frederick Winslow Taylor, a lot of research has been done into even how a room is lit up, the light studies, and the ergonomics of even a mouse comes from scientific management studies. And so these things are essential, but it takes a while for us to get there. So you're going to be learning about Frederick Winslow Taylor. You're going to be learning about the two industrial revolutions that we've had in this country. A lot of people think there's one, but no, there really are two, as you're going to be seeing in your work, in your reading. Now, it is important in this class that you read the material. That's why I did put a post out that I do have slides from when I lecture about this in person, but I'm not lecturing in person. There's no lecture component to this class. You have the reading work and you get the videos that we have provided for you to watch. And honestly, my lecture notes all come from the provided material. And so it's just kind of rehashing what's already there. And so I thought, well, I'm not going to burden you down with that. You've already got a lot of reading. But if you're the kind of person and you find that maybe you need some lecture notes to look at, they maybe help you, please feel free to ask. I'll send them to you. They are written for a 16-week course, which means our 8-week course every week you're going to wind up having 4 sets of slide decks to go through. So you're already going to be reading the work. So ask for them if you need them, and I'll gladly send them. But I don't think most of you will be needing them. A couple of more things to go through. We're going to be learning this week about the A3 reports. Now, you're going to be making an A3 report during this class in your group project. And we'll talk about the groups here in a minute. An A3 report is called an A3 report because that's the size of paper that it's usually printed on. This way, there's one report, and it's a graphic report. It has information, but you make it in a way that catches the eye. You can put like little cartoons or pictures or graphs or diagrams in there, and you'll see the general structure. While there's no actual technical structure for an A3 report in this class, we do use one, and that's the Miami template that you'll have during that week. Use that. Now, if you can't use that template, at least open it and take a look at it, and then go into like PowerPoint, and you can recreate it there yourself, just using the same general format, okay? Some other things this week. Oh, the groups. I have posted a message to the announcements page about the group assignments. I've assigned groups, 5 people to a group. Now, if somebody happens to drop the course, your group will be short that individual because once I establish these groups, they're set until the end of this course. This way, a group one isn't suddenly having somebody new come in and group. You see what I'm saying? We're trying to keep some consistency. So your group might lose a person, but usually I don't use groups. I'm not a big proponent for group work. I'm keeping it this particular term. I want to see if it's going to work. When I was a student, I found that if I was on a team doing a group assignment, I might wind up doing half of the work and another person might do half the work. Yet we had 5 people on the team. That meant that 3 people were getting away just by skating and not doing anything. I don't think that's fair. So normally I don't go for the group assignments, but this term I'm going to go ahead and try it. However, every single student will have to submit their own work when you submit your milestones or when you submit the final project. You can work as like a study group. You'll have the same data, you'll have the same processes, but you can word it in your own unique way. You can edit it, you can make sure that it's you that says it, and you submit that. And yes, your group works on it, but you're earning your grade. This way, every single student receives the grade they actually have earned. I don't want somebody doing all of the work and other people getting all the credit. I do not like that. So that's what we're going to do, okay? This week, there is one more thing I want to throw out there. Organizational strategy, organizational design, and organizational structure, they're all independent things. Now, there is some interrelationship, there's some relationship between them, some interplay between them, but the organizational structure, then the organizational strategy, they're actually their own concepts. So don't confuse them. When you read the material, make sure you pay attention to what a strategy is versus a structure. A structure would be like if you have a hierarchical. So it's the map. You have your it's a chart where you have your president, vice president, your C-suite individuals. Then you go into your department heads, and then your team heads, and then the employees. Or it might be cross-functional or matrix. So it depends. There's usually, I'd say, a good 5 or 6 types of structures, depending on what author you're reading. But you have the hierarchical, you have the cross-functional, the matrix, you have a flat, you have a virtual, and there's a few others in there that your materials go through. So that's the structure. In other words, if you graph out with that organization on a piece of paper, that's what it's going to look like. Whereas the strategy, that deals with how we're going to approach certain things. Now, in order to know what our strategy is going to be, we have to know what our structure is because there is some interrelationship going on there, some interconnectedness. All right. I think that's really about enough to get you going this week. You do have your reading material in Canvas. You have your videos, and I think there's about 6 or 7 of them for you to watch. If you have any questions, email me. Please email me. Now, just bear in mind, I am in California. The last 2 years, I was up there teaching on campus in Howell. I moved to California at the beginning of May. So there is a time difference. So if you email me at 12 o'clock your time, that's 3 o'clock my time, I'm probably not going to get it for a little while. I'm usually pretty quick about returning messages, but just so you know, there is the time difference. I swear there was something else I wanted to mention. Oh, yeah. I will be giving you feedback. Okay. When you submit something, I will grade it and I'll give you feedback. If you reply to my feedback in Canvas, I will not get that message for several weeks. That's not a good way to ask me questions. Make sure you email me. Okay. Email. All right. And every single one of you has to have an appointment with me during the course of the next 8 weeks, where we have about an hour and a half personal interaction time. Now, if you want to use this time for when you're working on your final project, great. Just please not everybody all at once, because that would be an entire week of messages and meetings and etc. And I don't know if I will survive it, but please schedule that, because that is a requirement to get through these courses. There has been some restructuring to the material and to the modality. So we'll get through it. Remember, Pangram is something the school uses. So when you use AI, look at the syllabus. I put in the syllabus how I expect you to use AI. I would use, and I would want you to use AI for research. But when you AI gives you an article, just don't use the synopsis that AI gives you. No, 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 no. That's not being an academic. Use that recommendation from AI, go to the Clear University Library or Google Scholar, look up the article and get the information from there. Then you cite the original article, and you include the blurb for using AI. And that is going to be found in, I believe, in your Clear University handbook. And I want to say in one of the first sections on Canvas, talking about some of the, let me pull that up here real quick. Um, I think it's under welcome start here, I want to say. All right. So you have to include it in your reference section because Pangram will tell me if you use AI or not. And Pangram is actually pretty darn good. So I don't think you're going to be able to skate by. All right. That should be about it. I hope that you have a wonderful first week. Contact me if you need or want those slides. Send me messages, your emails, questions, and also don't forget schedule your appointments. It's not up to me to schedule those appointments. It's up to you to schedule those appointments. All right. So let's have a great, wonderful term. Welcome to fall semester here at Clear University, and as you already know, I'm Dr. Brian Gagnon. I am your professor for this course. You have a great week.